Peace and blessings, family. Peace and blessings. This is your brother Sean Ali here at Supreme Health and Fitness by Sean Ali. As always, I thank each and every one of you for tuning in and giving me some of your valuable time. And as always, I pray that this brief message is received in the spirit that I am striving to deliver it in, which is the spirit of your brother, the spirit of love, and of course, and always, in the spirit and in the name of God. Family, this is just your our midday health check. That's right, our midday health check. And this is going into understanding and knowing your vitals. Understanding and knowing your vitals. And by that, we mean our resting heart rate and blood pressure. And the word vital means absolutely necessary. So when you go to any doctor's office or the emergency room, they listen to what you say to them, but they check your vitals and determining they treat you according to your vitals before they treat you according to what you say. In fact, if your vitals are abnormal or too high, elevated, they will not let you leave until you reach a safe number. So we want to be proactive, family. Here at Supreme Health and Fitness, we want to be proactive, not just with our health, but with our life, because our vitals are determined, our resting heart rate and blood pressure, they are determined by our lifestyle. So this means that our lifestyle is the basis for our vital statistics, for our resting heart rate and blood pressure. This determines the condition of your body. This determines your health status. Your health status determines how long you are going to live. They have a statistic called YPLL. And this statistic means, hold on. So you got YPLL. This statistic stands for years of potential life loss. They have a statistic called the YPLL, and that acronym stands for years of potential life loss. This is any death that occurs before the age of 75 is considered a premature death. Any death that occurs before the age of 75 is considered a premature death, and is calculated under this statistic of YPLL. So if let's say you die at 45, right? In that 30 years that it would have taken you to get to 75, those 30 years are considered years of potential life lost. And this is a 45-year premature death, because the average lifespan in all industrial countries, including America, all industrial countries have a normal lifespan of 75. Here in America, if you die before the age of 75, you are classified, your death is classified under the YPLL's statistic, and that stands for years of potential life lost. What does this have to do with your vitals? your resting heart rate and blood pressure. They are the reaction of your thoughts and movements. Your resting blood pressure and heart rate. They are the reactions of your thoughts and your movements. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. So when you think a thought, it affects your breathing. It affects how you move. That affects your heart rate and your blood pressure. Because for every thought and for every movement, your heart has to supply oxygen and blood for you to make it manifest. Every thought, if you feel, oh, I'm in love, you get the fluttering and racy heart and you start to get energized. If you feel angry, you feel you get tight. Your heart responds. Your blood pressure responds to every thought and to prepare you and to get you through every action. This is your lifestyle. That is your lifestyle. That determines if you will be healthy or not. If you are healthy or not, that determines how long you will live. So if you want to be healed, if you want to be healthy, if you want to be strong, if you want to grow young, if you want to successfully enjoy your abundant life, the answer is in your lifestyle. It's in knowing your vitals, because they are the numbers. Your vitals, they are the numbers. When you know your resting heart rate, and when I say vitals, I mean you're resting. Because as you are moving, your heart rate responds, your blood pressure responds. So it is always fluctuating according to your movements and your thoughts. But when you are at rest, when you are sitting still at rest and you haven't moved for 20, 30 minutes, your heart rate and blood pressure should be at its lowest. It should be at its low, meaning that it's taking the least amount of force and pressure to keep you alive. To keep you alive. So these are the numbers. Your vitals are the numbers to either your premature death right? It's going to tell you when you get your vitals, the numbers that you get, they will tell you if you are on the path to your premature death, or your numbers will tell you if you are on the journey to your abundant life. When you knowing your vitals, this vital means absolutely necessary, family. So if you only know your vitals when you get sick, see, this means that in the root and foundation of your sickness is these numbers, because that's the condition of your internal self. You can't see through your skin, so you can't see the condition of your heart. You can't see the condition of your respiratory system. Sometimes you can't feel when your heart is fluctuating. Sometimes you can't feel it. Sometimes it presents as a cold. You will think you have an inflammation, bronchitis, sinus infection. Your heart side effects of having elevated or abnormal vitals, they can present in almost any way, and it can be mistaken. See, they call the results of the vitals high blood pressure, right? The results of elevated vitals, they call it high blood pressure, right? And they call it hypertension. So this is what they call the effects of abnormal or elevated vitals. It's high blood pressure, hypertension, right? Do you know what they call these? Do you know what they call high blood pressure and hypertension? Do you know what the nickname of it is? The silent killer. They call high blood pressure and hypertension the silent killer. Listen, family, this is called the silent killer. Do you know what the silent killer means? This means that you don't know that you are suffering from high blood pressure or hypertension until you are in the midst or throes of your death. This means you are dying. And now you know you are suffering from hypertension or high blood pressure. Wow. And unfortunately, Black people, melanated people, my Moorish people, my Asiatic people, if you look like me, however you identify yourself, we lead in hypertension and high blood pressure. Not only do we lead in it, we lead in being undiagnosed in it. We lead in being misdiagnosed in it. That means if you and I don't make each other aware, we will continue leading in the death from high blood pressure and hypertension. And it all can be easily controlled and avoided by simply knowing our vitals. If we know our vitals before, if we are proactive in knowing the condition of our, don't wait until you get sick. Because at that time, that means you could have been living under these two conditions for such a long time that you almost cause irreparable damage. So by knowing our vitals, not only can we heal ourselves, we can stop and reverse the process and potentially save our lives and be able to prevent our premature death. Look, if the root of your sickness is the condition of your heart, because your heart is responsible for promoting or circulating oxygen through your body. That's its number one function. Before it deals with nutrients and anything else, your heart's first beat is the pulmonary circuit, meaning it sends blood to your lungs to be oxygenated. Once this blood is oxygenated, it goes back to your heart to be dispersed throughout your body, going through your left side first. That's its number one function. That's its number one function. So when you are looking at disease and sickness, listen, when you are looking at disease and sickness, right, it has to occur. Your basic common denominator is a cell. So if you are sick, if you are diseased, if you have a viral infection, a bacterial infection, a chronic recurring condition, it has to occur at a cellular level. Your cells need oxygen and glucose. Sorry. It needs oxygen and glucose to produce the ATP energy to keep that cell alive. When we have elevated, abnormal resting heart rate and blood pressure, the number one side effect is lack of oxygen. Lack of oxygen, because your heart is beating at such an erratic beat, it doesn't have enough time to fill up and push oxygen through your body. So the number one side effect of abnormal or elevated resting heart rate and blood pressure is lack of oxygen. This leads to cellular. When you are lacking oxygen, that leads to cellular oxidation. Cellular oxidation. This is what happens for an example that you can see. If you look at metal, and when metal rusts, that's what oxidation is. That almost what happens to our cells when it lacks oxygen. The number one way for us to become oxygen deprived or deficient is by having an irregular or abnormal or elevated resting heart rate and blood pressure, or your vitals. And now your cell doesn't have the ingredients to make ATP or the energy. So now once that cell doesn't have enough energy, it starts to oxidize. The DNA becomes corrupted. So now when this cell goes to reproduce, it reproduces corruption. So now you have a cancer cell that starts as one cell. And now when it goes to reproduce, because it becomes oxidized, it reproduces what it is, cancer, because it doesn't have the ingredients to provide the energy it needs to sustain life. This is all going into the understanding and knowing our vitals and cause and effect. So when we understand that our vitals, specifically your resting heart rate and blood pressure, are the byproducts of the reactions, are the effects of your thoughts and your actions, then we can find the cause, and then we can solve it. Okay, let me change my thoughts. Let me change my actions. Let me move from an unhealthy lifestyle to a healthy lifestyle. Let me move from a stressful environment to a stress-free environment. Let me move from hell to heaven. Woohoo! Hey, let me go from a slave to a God. What? Let me go from oppressed to being a free man or free woman. See, that's all up to you. That's all up to you. So look, it's easy to know your vitals. You don't have to go to the emergency room or to your doctors to get to know your vitals. You can go to your local pharmacy, Walmart, Walgreens, Target. You can go to any of those outlets, stores, and you can get yourself your monitor. Look, wow, very easy. Look, put it on. Make sure it's lined up properly. Look, hit this thing, one button, set it down and relax. One button. And within a minute, I will be able to get the readings. See, within a minute, I will be able to get the readings of my vitals. I will be able to get the numbers that will tell me whether I am on a path to premature death or if I'm on a journey to abundant life. See, and it gives you a reading. All you got to do is wait for 1 minute, and then you can get your own vitals. If they are high, if the numbers come back and they are slightly elevated, all you got to do is, what do they do if you go to the emergency room? If you go to the emergency room, or if you go to your doctors and they monitor your blood pressure, if it's slightly elevated, what do? Do they give you water? Do they give you something to eat? Do they give you blood pressure medicine? No. They tell you to sit there for about 15, 20, 30 minutes and relax and breathe. Then they'll come back and they'll check it again. If it's still high, they'll say, hold up, sit a little bit longer and we'll check it again. See, they don't give you nothing. Because your vitals, your blood pressure, your heart rate, they are the products of your thinking and your actions. They respond. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. For every thought and every movement, the reaction is your heart rate and your blood pressure. So when we want to understand our vitals, we want to understand our resting heart rate and our resting blood pressure. Because when you are sitting still, doing nothing, your heart should be beating minimally. Your blood pressure should be low, meaning that it's taking the least amount of energy, the least amount of force and pressure for your heart to beat to keep you alive. What does that mean? If you have a boom, 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 boom. See, if your heart is constantly like this, it can't survive 45 years. It can barely survive 45 years at a boom, 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 boom. But if you have a heartbeat of around 45, 50, 55 beats per minute, boom, 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 boom. It can beat like that indefinitely. It can beat like that indefinitely. It can beat like that into your abundant life. What's the difference between somebody alive and somebody dead? Breathing. Breathing, a heartbeat. You can keep a corpse alive on a respirator with no brain activity or function, and they are still alive because the body is respirating. There's a heartbeat. Without a heartbeat, you are dead. How do you control your heartbeat? With your thoughts and your actions. So when you are monitoring your resting heart rate, this should be the minimal amount of numbers. How do you get your numbers low? If you do have elevated numbers and you want to get them low, man, listen, we have solutions. It is not food, it's not water. When those that have a low resting heartbeat, the only way you can get a low resting heart rate is being athletic and active. That's it. So family, listen, we have solutions for you to take control and be proactive, not just with being healed and becoming healthy, but if we understand that health and unhealthiness is just the difference between being balanced and imbalanced, between being able to achieve homeostasis or not. That means that if you have an imbalance, as long as your body has that imbalance, then anything can happen to you, including premature death. But if your body can achieve homeostasis and balance, that means that it is solving whatever problems it encounters. This means you are healthy, and a healthy person cannot die. You cannot get sick and die if you are balanced. If you are balanced, you cannot get sick. If you can't get sick, you can't die. Only unhealthy people get sick. Only unhealthy people get sick. Only sick people die. That's up to you, because when the pathologist, when you are laying on that lab table and the pathologist is examining you, they are specifically looking for a cause of death. They are specifically looking for your cause of death. And they can find it, whether it's when the organ failed, the tissue failed, the cell failed, they can find it. And unless you were born with it, you created it. How do you create it? Because we don't know our vitals. Not the size of your arms, not the size of your hips or your butts, or how many abs you got, or how big your chest is. That's not your vitals. Your vitals are your resting heart rate and your blood pressure, man. How long and how fast can your heart beat? How long can it sustain your life? Your numbers will tell you whether you are on the path to your premature death or on the journey to your abundant life. The choice is all up to you, family. Listen, if you or anybody you know has a problem with their blood pressure, hypertension, high blood pressure, and the pills don't work, it's lifestyle, but they need help to change into a healthy lifestyle, man, please tell them you contact us. Let them contact us. Contact us today when you want to start being healthy and living today. It's all up to you. I thank you all for tuning in, family. I'm your brother, Sean Ali, here at Supreme Health and Fitness by Sean Ali. I leave you as I came in the greeting words of peace. Salam alaikum. Hotel. Black power. Power to the people. Peace.